All right. Hi again, everybody. Again, I'm Kate Egelhoff. I'm the education specialist here at Harmony, and welcome to our virtual classroom. We're really happy you guys can all join us, even if you're not in the same room like we used to do. At least we can still have some fun classes here. So welcome to Zoom. I'm recording this, and we're going to put this up on our website and then on our YouTube channel, because we have a YouTube channel now. And then you can watch along and watch it again later if you feel like it. So let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, welcome to our natural skincare class. This is our fantastic instructor, Rachel Munson.
Hi.
So I will duck out of the way because I know you are not here to see me, and then we can get started.
Your spiel is so much shorter without all the safety precautions.
I know, I don't have to tell people to wash their hands.
Yep. Okay, well, hello everyone. This is weird to be doing this over Zoom, but I can see all of you, or at least I can see that who's here. And I always like to go into these classes and look at them as like a conversation. So if you have questions, please either unmute yourself or just use the chat function to ask a question along the way, and we will, or I will address it in real time. So, like Kate said, we're going to be talking about skincare today, a topic that I am pretty passionate about. I've been teaching this class of Harmony for, goodness, 4 years now, probably, and I think it just keeps getting better and better. I was telling Kate earlier about a salve that I was making at home a couple days ago and how it's just one of my best batches yet. So I keep getting better. I keep learning things. So I'm not going to have all the answers if you have any questions, but I am always willing to learn more. And we have fancy phones now. So if you have a question that I can't answer, we can certainly find an answer for you. Am I missing anything from my introduction? Okay. So today, because we are, the class is scheduled for only an hour, we're just going to go through two skincare pieces. The first is we're going to talk about a healing skin salve, which I call Lisa's skin salve. Lisa Weiskopf is the product manager here at Harmony, and I got this recipe from her. She taught this class before I started teaching this class. So this is not my personal recipe, it's hers, but it is really malleable, so you can do what you want to do if you're experimenting at home. I've adapted this recipe a little bit for myself just because adapting it to use herbs that I prefer or essential oils that I prefer. But I'll go into those a little bit more once we start doing that. The second thing that we're going to do is a lip balm. And I got this recipe actually off the internet. It is a beautiful place, the internet, most of the time. And this recipe, in its completed form, feels to me just like Burt's Bees Peppermint Lip Balm, which was my intention. And I can talk more about that as well. So if for the sake of time, let's just go ahead and get started. If you're following along, then, like I said, just ask questions as they come up. Otherwise, I'll just kind of tell you a little bit about what Kate did earlier today to get prepared for this. You'll see in front of me, I'll come over, here is a jar full of oil and herbs. So we're starting with the skin salve. So in this jar is lavender and calendula, right, Kate?
Yes.
Okay. And then we've got Bragg's olive oil. This olive oil was, I was told by Lisa Weiskopf, the product manager who I just mentioned, to use Bragg's in this salve just because it's, she loves the consistency of it. It's a really thick olive oil, and it smells good too. but I'm not particularly partial to this. I would just recommend that when you're making salves, use something that's organic, or at least as clean as possible, because what you use on your body essentially becomes yourself. So what Kate did with, all right, now I'm gonna move back. What Kate did with this is she did a hot infusion today, which means that she put the herbs that are required for the salve in the jar with the oil, and she put it in a sort of double boiler system, which is essentially not a double boiler, but it's simply a towel at the bottom of a pot, and then water that comes up to about here on the outside of the pot, and then she just let that infuse on low heat for about 3 hours or so. That's one way that you can make the oil base for the salve. However, you can also do a cold infusion, which is, it follows the same sort of method, but it doesn't have any heat. So you put the herbs and the oil in the jar and let it sit in kind of a warm spot for, as long as you want, really. I've made salves with oil that has sat for over a year. I've made salves that have with oil that have sat for like 3 to 4 weeks. It really depends on how potent you want your salve. So that's the infusion part. So that's like the pre-salve making portion of the class that we needed to complete before the class itself. However, now let's talk about herbs. Am I missing something?
Nope.
Okay.
This is awesome.
Perfect. So like I mentioned, this particular oil has been infused with lavender and calendula, 2 of my favorite herbs of all time, just because they are so relaxing and they heal your skin immensely. Sorry, my tag on my scarf is bugging me, so I just have to fix that really quick. Lavender, here, let me bring these up to you. So I'm assuming that most people know what lavender looks like, but in the event that you don't, they're purplish sort of petals that are very fragrant. And I use lavender in my salves because of its fragrance, but then also because of its healing properties. So it's antimicrobial, so it's going to feel good on your skin. It's going to heal your skin and provide sort of just a calming sensation when you apply it to your body. Calendula is going to be very similar, except for it's less fragrant. Calendula, you can see here, it's just little petals here. Oops. Well, sorry, Kate. Now I have calendula all over your computer. And I've used calendula, just pure calendula oil, to heal tattoos, to heal, scrapes, bruises, just because it's a thicker oil that doesn't have sort of that, like after, how sometimes if you use oil on your hands, you feel kind of sticky, or like it just kind of, it doesn't absorb all the way at first. So I've used calendula because of it. It's a little bit of a drier oil, but also very antimicrobial, so it's healing on your skin as well. Both of these products are always available at Harmony, which is why we use them today. The other one that I typically like to use is Yarrow, which is less frequent in the bulk section of Harmony. But when they do have it, I highly recommend getting it and kind of having it on reserve if you're going to create salves throughout your life. Yarrow is, I don't know what it's native to, but I know that you can find it here in Minnesota. It's kind of, it grows in ditches, I think. And I know that one of my very good friends, Inga, is here today, and she's a scientist, so she could tell us all about Yarrow, I bet. But Yarrow, you can find it in a lot of different places in Minnesota, primarily ditches. It has that same sort of effect as lavender and calendula. It's antimicrobial, it's very healing, and I love it. It's great. Inga, please unmute yourself if you want to say anything else.
She's using an older version of Zoom.
I'm putting her on the spot, but she doesn't have to talk about it.
Yep.
The other one that has been passed down from Lisa making salves is Oregon Grapefruit. This one is a little bit different. It looks kind of like hay. If you look at it here. There's Inga. Do you want to tell us about Yarrow? Do you know more about Yarrow, Princess?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, a little bit about Yarrow. So it does grow in the Midwest. It's a really small plant usually, and it has really feathery looking leaves on it, kind of like little ferns, and it has white flowers. Yeah, that's mostly what I have to say about it. You can tell it because when you crush up its leaves, it is super fragrant.
So there you have it. So if you ever want to go Yarrow hunting, give Inga a call.
Yeah, I would love to.
Thanks, girl. So Oregon Grapefruit is great for, it's actually been used to treat psoriasis. So it's a very healing, topical healing plant. So the properties of Oregon grapefruit are very healing as well. So as you can see from everything that I was just saying, if you put all of those things into one container and infuse it in oil, all of those properties are going to be absorbed into the oil, and then when you use it in your salve, it's going to be, the oil will obtain those properties. Okay, let me just get this right. Perfect. Any questions about herbs or the infusion process at this time? Okay, wonderful. So then we can move into the next step of the actual herb, the salve making. Let me just make sure that I'm not missing anything here. Okay, so when the next thing that we have to do is we have to remove the herbs from the oil, because we don't want to have sort of that chunky feeling when we're putting this on our skin. It's just going to leave, it's not going to be very clean. So what Kate has so wonderfully done today, she's provided several ways that we can remove the flowers from the oil. Oh, there's a question.
Are there any herbs you would avoid because of sun sensitivity?
Okay, so Carla has asked a question.
I'm gonna,
okay, Carla asked, are there any herbs that you would avoid because of sun sensitivity? That is a brilliant question that I don't know the answer to. If you have a sun sensitivity, I would just Google herbs that would, irritate sensitivity to the sun. The one that I know, I guess I'm not even sure if it's an herb really, but St. John's wort has caused me to be sensitive to the sun, even though I'm not typically sensitive to the sun. So that would be my answer to that. But I can also, if you would like, I can do some research and get back to you. If you just want to send a private message through the chat just to Kate with your email address, I'd be happy to follow up with you. Really good question. Any other questions before we keep going?
I have a question.
Yes.
What type of oils or what would be good for eczema? My son has eczema really bad, and they give him try medicine, and it helps, but they only give us like little tubes, and it like just totally dries him out.
I would make this
Some background.
We're hearing some background noise, so we're gonna mute you really quick, Billy, but I'll answer your question. I would make this, so like with lavender and calendula and yarrow and oregon grapefruit, I would put all of those together and I would do an oil infusion. You can use olive oil. I use olive oil because it is rich. But you can also, if there's one that you prefer, like you can infuse all of these oils in calendula oil to make it a little bit more, I don't know, to just kind of balance with the olive oil. But if you, I wish that you were here so that we could give you a sample of it. But this particular recipe I absolutely love, and it's really great for my skin. I don't have eczema, but for those who do, I bet that it would be really soothing.
And from the chat, Carol says plantain is very fast healing. So that might be.
Oh, cool. Plantain. I saw in the Q&A there's a question about what I'm saying.
Yep.
I'm not.
It's not organic grapefruit.
It's not organic grapefruit. It's Oregon grapefruit, which I can definitely see how it sounds like I'm saying organic grapefruit. Do you want to type that in the chat, Kate?
Yep.
Okay. Perfect. Another thing that you could do, Billy, for eczema is once you get later in the recipe, if you put in some coconut oil, just to kind of enrich the whole thing all together, that would be good. I would also, if you found that there's like a specific topical cream, topical substance that works really, really well on skin, you could incorporate that into this, and so that it would have, your body would react to what you really enjoy, and then it would also have this extra healing property. Great questions, everyone. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Okay, so next step is to remove the flowers from the oil, as I was saying. You can use, if you have like a really tight strainer, so a strainer that doesn't have like big holes in it, you can use this. This is a reusable option, which is great. Otherwise, cheesecloth on over a bowl, secured with a rubber band is what I usually do because I don't have a good handy dandy strainer like this. For today, what I'm gonna do though is I'm going to use I'm gonna be crazy, I'm gonna use this cheesecloth. Sorry, Earth. The reason that I'm doing this is so that I can squeeze all of the oil out, and I can demonstrate that to you, just so that we don't waste any of the oil itself. So let me do this. It's always part of the class where there's like a little kid here. They love doing this part. It's so fun. All right. So I secured the cheesecloth directly to the bowl with that rubber band. I dumped out the contents of the jar. And I'm just gonna bundle this all up and squeeze the crap out of it. So, see if I can get a little closer here. All right, will you tilt that down just a little bit? Okay, so it's not always glamorous making salve, but at least, you know, afterwards you can just rub your hands together and have a nice little olive oil lotion. So you can do this for as long as you want. I mean, the herbs themselves hold a lot, or the oil gets caught in the herbs themselves a lot. So think when I was making my salve a little while ago, I did this for like 20 minutes just because that was the oil that had sat for over a year. I just wanted to get every drop. Okay. So I'm just gonna do that. Okay. All right. I will show this to you as carefully as I can. So wait, here's my oil. As you can see, it's still kind of the color of olive oil, but it's a little bit darker because of the herbs that have been warmly infused inside. A word of caution, can you, yeah. If you do this all in one setting, or one sitting, just be careful that the oil is not too hot, so that you don't burn your hands, that's all. Okay, I am gonna grab that. Okay, so once you have the oil separated from the flowers, we need another jar. Transfer it into another jar, or you can rinse out the jar that you have and then just reuse that. And then this is going to go back onto the stove. So we may need to get creative when we show you how to do this here. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this back on the stove, and then we're going to get it warm enough so that we can put in the beeswax pastilles. Here, I'll let you do that. So these little beeswax pastilles are available at Harmony, and I've only been able to find these particular ones at Harmony in Bemidji. But if you have a hookup with beeswax in town, any sort of beeswax will work. The only thing about this particular recipe is that it's based off of these particular pastilles. So I think it calls for a 1/4 cup of beeswax. So that's what we're basing this off of. However, as you get more accustomed to making this recipe, you'll be able to you'll know what you like the best. For example, the salve that I was just talking about with the oil that had been sitting for a little over a year, I used local beeswax that was just in like big block form. And I didn't even measure how much I put in, but I like my salves a bit more waxy because I think that it just it eliminates that sort of oily after feeling, and it kind of provides like a protective layer for at least my skin. So it really depends on what you prefer. And as you kind of do this more, you'll understand what your skin likes. And it depends, like if you're using, it really also depends on what part of your body you're using the salve on too. Like your elbows may want a different salve than your hands or your face. So I always just encourage people to experiment and see what they like. So here, let's do this. You're gonna be in the shot, Kate. Oh, yay. So here we go over here. Here's the stove, and we've got this, this pot has a towel on the bottom that's just kind of to provide a barrier between the heat and the oil, and that's just gonna make sure that the oil doesn't burn in the jar. And I also just like, I think this is totally made up, but in my mind, I like that the towel kind of wraps the jar a little bit and distributes the heat a little bit more evenly. So we have this on. We have the water almost to the top of the pot, which is also very close to the top of the oil mark in the actual jar. And what we're gonna do, is we're gonna measure out 1/4 cup of these pastille beeswax, and then Kate's just gonna stir them all together. And while she does that, it takes a minute for the beeswax to actually melt. So I'll bring you back over here and we can start the preparation for the lip balm. Perfect. This bag is weird. I trust it. There's another. Okay, well. We're good. Did you measure the oil when you put it in? Not quite, okay. So let's do, okay, so Kate and I are feeling crazy. We're gonna make the balm or the salve a little bit more waxy, because we're the ones that are gonna get this. Okay, perfect. So we're gonna double the recipe, but like I said, it's really up to you, however much you want. All right, so perfect. Now, bring you back here. Any questions right now? While Kate's busy, I can take over the computer. Oh. Okay. Perfect. Well, here we go. Okay. So, as I mentioned earlier, we're also going to be making a lip balm. So, if you have the recipe in front of you, the recipe calls for a tablespoon of beeswax, 2 tablespoons of shea butter, which is very moisturizing to the skin, and coconut oil, which is also very moisturizing to the skin. One thing that I do that's kind of just like a fun's maybe not the right word, but that's the word that I'm using. Sort of just like easy peasy skincare thing. Like I get right out of the shower and I just want to do something that will feel really good. I just take coconut oil with lavender and just put it all over my face and chest. It just feels so good, and is really moisturizing for my skin. Some people don't like coconut oil on their skin, and that's okay. And once again, if you find something in this recipe that you just don't agree with, or you don't want to use, or you don't like, you can always replace it with something else. So 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, and then essential oil of your choice. We're going to use peppermint because I am really going after that Burt's Bees Peppermint Lip Balm vibe. I just think it works really well for my skin. And if you're anything like me, you put chapstick all over your face, just because this part of my body gets so dry in the winter. And so the peppermint paired with the shea butter, beeswax, and coconut oil just really seals my mouth region really well in the winter. So you know so much about me today. That's great. All right, so to start with this recipe, however, we're just going to take a jar and we're going to put the shea butter and the coconut oil in first. So I think the recipe says to put everything in the jar together, but I'm gonna take a step back and I'm not going to do that just because I want to infuse the oils or the shea butter and the coconut oil together first, and then we'll incorporate everything else in. And just like a rule of thumb, if you're ever making chapsticks or salves, I always put the essential oils in last, so that way they don't steam out. They really just get retained within the oil itself. So I'm gonna grab a spoon really quick. I will be right back. Are they in the same spot? Yes, great. Oh wait. Okay, so 2 tablespoons of coconut oil, And if you can see this, here. This is fun. All right. I'm being a little bit generous with my portions just because I can, and it's okay to do so. So that was the coconut oil. Now, I'm going to take the shea butter. I'm less generous with shea butter in this recipe just because of a personal preference. Shea butter reacts pretty oily to my skin, and that's not what I'm going for. So I'm just going to stick to what's in the recipe. One thing that I just want to not warn, but caution you against is just make sure that whenever, like with what Kate's doing right now. Oh my gosh, are they done? Oh, okay. Perfect. Be cautious not to get water into the jar. It's just not gonna make the lip balm or the salve feel as good. Okay. So once we're here, yeah. Okay. All the burners work. Which one am I doing? Perfect. Okay. All right. So I'm going to bring you back up here. So we have a little bit of time before the beeswax is completely melted in the salve, and before we put this on the stove. So if there are any questions, I would be happy to take them now. Or I can just keep talking about stuff. Oh, is there a new question here? Oh, okay. No. Okay, so there are no questions coming in, so I can just talk a little bit about the essential oils that I've chosen, and I'm referring specifically to the skin salve. So today what we're gonna do is we're gonna put in lavender essential oil and tea tree essential oil. So not only are those two things really good together, they smell amazing, but they also have healing properties. So lavender essential oil is going to have a similar palette as the herbs, the lavender herbs, right? So it's going to be antimicrobial, it's going to be very healing to the skin, and then okay. We're good. And then the tea tree oil, I know that oftentimes tea tree is considered as kind of a dehydrating essential oil, but while it does kind of make your skin feel like it's dry, it really is just protecting your skin from exterior things. So it's really healing, it's really cleansing. A lot of people, I use tea tree oil as after I wash my face, I put tea tree oil on and then I follow up with either a salve or a moisturizer. However, if you don't like lavender or tea tree oil, please feel free to experiment with whatever you want. I know that there are so many essential oils out there that can benefit your skin or just skin in general, and everybody's opinions about oils are across the board. So if you have a specific oil that you prefer, even if it doesn't have a healing property and you just like the smell of it, try it out and see how it works the salve. Another one that I like to use is rosemary. I don't like to use rosemary within a salve. I just use it as a pure essential oil. But rosemary, I like it because it's very stimulating and calming, which I think is kind of an oxymoron, but I just, ever since I was a kid, I would always just like have something that smelled like rosemary on me. My mom used to send me to school with a little handkerchief that smelled like raspberry, that smelled like rosemary. So if I was ever feeling stressed out or anxious, I could just go to my locker and smell the little handkerchief. When my mom takes this class, she loved it when I tell that story. I'm surprised she's not here, honestly. Yeah. Any questions about essential oil? I talked to you a little bit about peppermint and why we're choosing that today. It is, so peppermint, as most of you know, it's cooling. If you've ever used just peppermint on your skin, it does kind of have that tingly feeling. And that's why I use it in lip balms. However, if I wanted to use something that was going to be a little bit more moisturizing or healing on my skin, I could certainly use lavender. So selfishly, I'm using peppermint. Sorry, Kate.
All right, enjoy.
Here, let's go back over here so you can see what this looks like.
Yes. It's kind of halfway there. It kind of melts a little bit and then it goes all of a sudden.
How far am I allowed to move this? Can I move this?
Yeah.
However, wherever.
Computer doesn't disconnect. We are good.
All right. So, wish that there was a zoom factor. Let's just do this. All right. So as you can see, there's the oil. It's nice and hot, and the pastilles are just rolling around with the spatula. Like Kate said, with these, it really is just sudden. Like they'll look like this 1 second, and then the next second they'll be completely melted within the oil. And that's when we put in the essential oils, remove from heat, and place the salve into a receptacle. Okay, so this one, I started this pot here too. It's quite bigger, but it has a towel on the bottom as well. This one so I'm just putting the jar directly on top of the towel. I'm holding it down just because there's a lot more water in this and I don't want it to just flop over. But once this melts, we'll be able to add the beeswax, do the same thing that we're doing with the salve, and then add the essential oil and then transfer them into the receptacle. So Harmony has, do you guys prefer to see us or what we're doing? Bueller.
Huh.
Bueller. All right, well, I'm just gonna assume that you want to see what we're doing unless we're told otherwise. So, what was I gonna say about melting? Oh shoot. Does anybody know what I was gonna say? Oh yeah, so Harmony has a ton of different little containers that can be used specifically for this purpose. So
Starting to melt.
cool. I'm just gonna remove this really quick so I can grab these. If we were teaching this class in person, this little container is what we would be putting the salve in for all of you to take home. Tonight we're going to be putting the lip balm in this just for the sake of the fact that we had these left over from the last class. And but Harmony also has little containers specifically for lip balm, and those are located in a bulk section right next to the bulk herbs and spices. But if you ever have any questions, you can just go to Kate and she'll help you.
Absolutely.
So we typically have downtime like this in our in-person class. It's kind of a learning curve going from, I've never realized how much conversation I have with people.
Have any of you guys made your own salve before?
Great question.
Feel free to unmute yourself if you want to answer any questions.
Yeah, yep. I know that Inga has made, well, maybe not. Maybe she hasn't made anything, but she's trying to. I know that. She gets a lot of stuff from me. I know that much. So this stuff is melting pretty quick. That's good. Where did I put that?
I can hold it with the mitt and stir with the other hand.
Oh, okay. I think we're good. There's not much else that needs to be done right now.
Yeah, this is unfortunately the hurry up and wait part, but it's
Yeah.
fun because you feel like a mad scientist.
And it is super satisfying to like watch the beeswax melt.
Mhm.
You feel like it's never gonna do it. Oh, good. There's a thing.
All right.
Carol made salve years ago with a lady from the Oneida tribe in Wisconsin. Oh, that's cool. So can you, Carol, would you be willing to unmute yourself and tell us a little bit more about plantain salve? Or just, I know like plantains they look like bananas. Is that what you're talking about? How does that get to be an herb? Or is it? Maybe, can I unmute you? Do I have to unmute you? Let's see, oh boy.
I got it.
Carol, are you okay if I unmute you? I guess maybe ask for forgiveness instead of permission. You should cut this part out when you post it to YouTube. The hurry up and wait part. Are you guys having fun?
I forgot how long the beeswax takes to melt.
Okay. Oh, good. Sorry.
Rachel,
Yes.
I don't mean to speak for Carol, but so there's a plantain that it's like a ground plantain, I guess you could call it, that you can usually find growing in like sidewalks and driveways and stuff, that it has a lot of vitamin K in it. So I'm guessing which is healing. So I'm assuming that that's maybe what the salve was made out of. Yeah,
Oh.
it looks like it from what she said.
Carol?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Thin tall seed spears coming from Inga.
Yes.
You or Carol, would either of you be willing to look that up and send us a link online so that we can see what it looks like?
Sorry. For sure.
Cool.
You've
Carla
seen it
said that having fun.
before.
Good. What?
You've seen it before, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I'm sure I have. I don't know. Seed spears coming from the center and wow.
I bet it's the thing that I pulled out of millions of sidewalk cracks.
Yeah.
But I know what it is.
Okay, so quick update. Here is the lip balm. This is just the melted coconut oil and shea butter. So I've still just got a few more chunks in here that I want to work out before I put in the, actually, no, I don't need to. So I'm going to put in the beeswax now. All right.
So close.
All right. Oh, here, I'll show this to you. Let's see. So there it is with the little pastilles in it. I guess you can't really see the pastilles, but they sunk to the bottom there. So now we're just gonna melt those. One other thing. Oh, here, good. Okay. Oh, I keep forgetting. Oh yeah, that's what plantain looks like. Interesting. Do you have that here, Kate?
Not at the store, but we have it like in the sidewalks.
Right, but like herb, like I'm assuming that it's a dried herb.
I don't know that we do, but we can have Jeffrey, we could go look at it.
That would be an interesting class to teach. Carol, you can come and teach that class.
Just don't melt the thing. Oh, yeah, there we go.
All right, so
Get off the heat.
we'll bring you a
Pull
little
that out.
closer. Oh, okay, so Carol says she has lots of plantain in her yard. She picks the leaves and frees them for later use. That's awesome. Okay, so the beeswax is mostly
It'll finish melting.
melted in the salve. So pretty quick here, I'm going to trade spots with Kate and then bring you back to the table where we can, I will do the, I'll add the essential oils to the jar and then we can transfer them into the receptacle. So one thing, I think, let's stir it just a little bit longer. One thing that I want, as I've kind of been saying all along, these salves are really, you can really play with them and make them for what you want them to be. So if on both the hand salve or the skin salve and the moisturizer and the lip balm, if you just take maybe like just a spoonful and put it on a little piece of wax paper or a plate, doesn't matter, and just throw it in the freezer for a few minutes and then take it out, you'll be able to feel the consistency. So if you know that you want something that's going to be a little bit waxier, go ahead and do that. And then if it's not as waxy as you want it, you can add more beeswax. Just like on the flip side of that, if you want something that is a little bit more oily, then, and it's too waxy, you can just add a little bit more olive oil. So really cater these recipes to you. All right, perfect. So I will trade you.
I'll get this out.
I can grab it.
Okay.
So you're coming with me. Let's take you down. Perfect. Okay. Oof. All right. So here is the oil and beeswax mixture. Next, what we're gonna do. Love having tables on wheels. Okay. So the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna add the essential oils. So typically for something that is this size, I would do like 30 drops of lavender and 30 drops of tea tree oil. I know that the recipe says essential oils to your preference. So if you want it more fragrant than that, go ahead and make it more fragrant than that. If you don't want it to be fragrant as much, or if you don't want it to be super fragrant, you can limit those as well. But I'm just going to go ahead and do that now. This is always the fun part. But I guess having you on Zoom will help me count. I don't have to pay as much attention. Oh, I lost count already. Okay. I think that was about 30. Same thing with the tea tree oil. I love that smell so much. Okay, so see here. For the recipe that you have, the recipe that you're finding, or that you will be able to find on the Harmony website, I would do half of that. So if you are making this recipe at home based on the ingredients that we told you to at the quantities that we assigned, I would do 15 of each. But like I said, it depends on your preference. So now that you have your salve done, time to, you want me to just put it in this?
Yeah.
Just transfer it to a receptacle. I prefer glass just because it's kind of a neutral thing. I don't love putting things in metal, but if that's what you have, that'll work just fine. Plastic, I also don't love to use, so I love ball jars. I have like 50 of them at home. I'm gonna grab.
Yes. Yes. Many of you.
I just want to take some home, if that's cool. All right, so here's that little jar that I was talking about earlier. So then you just pour it on in, and there. I'm gonna pour the rest into here. Kate, you guys can just keep this in the freezer and pull it when you want more salve.
Nice.
All right. I also have here. I'm gonna bring you up to my level now. Okay. So after I put, you can see that it's already cooling. So and at the top there, it's a bit more. It's liquid now still, but it almost starts cooling immediately. And so you want to be sure that you do this relatively quickly. You don't want to take it off heat, then just set it on the table and let it cool for whatever, an hour, because it's just going to harden in that state. What I do is I pour them into the receptacle, I cap them, and I put them in the fridge or the freezer. The fridge, well, any sort of cooling environment that you put it into will make the top of the salve crack a little bit, not in a bad way. It's just if you are a little bit OCD or if you want it to be really aesthetically pleasing, I would just put it on a tabletop and just let it cool that way. So that's what I'll do today, just because none of you are here to take any home, so we don't have to worry about it not leaking anywhere. Is that ready?
Ready.
Yay, okay. So the next thing, like perfect timing. One thing I was gonna say too is I have a jar at home that I use specifically for waxy stuff. Just because it's kind of it's a pain in the butt to clean. Sorry, Kate.
That was last year's.
Yes.
So
And then here's a little bit of the salve too, and you can just take as much as you want. Okay, so now we have the lip balm. So you can see it really just cleared on up there. And what I'll do now is I will follow the recipe and put 20 drops of peppermint into the jar. Oh, I forgot to do the vitamin E. Crap. Will you do that for this guy? Okay. So I forgot a step, but I'm going to backtrack in a minute after I stop counting. I love the smell of peppermint so much. And I lost count. I don't understand why I am so I have such a hard time counting this. Well, I'm gonna assume that was 20. This is why it's really fun to have kids here because they just get so focused. They have a job, they stay focused. Okay, so I'm gonna show you what Kate's doing right now. The lip balm will be here in a sec. So what Kate is doing is she cut a hole into a little capsule of vitamin E oil and she's squeezing it into the bottom of the receptacle for the lip balm. So typically what I would have had everyone do in class is do that same thing for their salves. I forgot to do that this time. Vitamin E is it's basically a preservative, a natural preservative. So that's just gonna make it last longer. So with vitamin E, I would say that salves and lip balms they have a shelf life of probably 6 months, whereas without vitamin E, they probably have a shelf life of 2 or 3. That is assuming that you're gonna have them out of the freezer, which we all prefer, right? Like we don't wanna have to go to the freezer to get our lip balm. But for things like this, like if you make it in bulk, like we're gonna leave this at Harmony, and if the employees need salve, they can just go thaw this out and put it into a smaller thing. So that'll be fine. These ones, Kate and I will just have to use within 2 or 3 months, which this size is easy peasy. Yes. Alrighty, perfect. So now we have vitamin E in the bottom of both of these. You can use capsules. You can just puncture a hole like Kate did. I have this at home too. This is available at Harmony. It's just a cutesy little bottle of vitamin E oil. I use this on my eyes like almost every night, just because. And so there's kind of a 2-for-1 there as well. These are relatively cheap, I think, and they go on sale pretty often. Okay, that's my pitch for Harmony products. Can you tilt that down just a little bit, Kate? Okay, perfect. So here we are with the lip balm. There we go. We'll just do the same thing here. Ooh, all right, well, let's see. It even smells like Burt's Bees. Oh my gosh, perfect.
Wow, we're good.
We are good. Go team. Until we've done this a couple times together. All right, so same drill with this. I would typically throw these in the freezer if all of y'all were here. But for now, I'm just gonna leave them out so that they don't, because we just don't need to. Actually, I am gonna put them in the fridge because I think this cools at a lower, or it takes, words are hard. This one takes a little bit longer to cool properly, just because of the amount of oil in it. All right, will you throw these in the fridge? Yeah, that'd be great. Okay. These. All right. So that is the skin salve and the lip balm. Do any of you have any questions? I'm happy to answer them. Typically what we would do after this, if we had an in-person class, is make a skin, a high shelf or a top shelf skin serum, which is really simple. You just take your oil of choice, add some lavender to it, and call it good. Honestly, I use tamanu oil, which is, it smells just like molasses. Molasses, or the tamanu oil and lavender, is divine. So there's just a little bit of a pro tip for you. But we are just over the hour, so if anyone has any questions, like I said, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I hope you have a really good rest of your evening and enjoy your weekend. You're welcome, Carla.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. Oh,
Yeah, come on in, Kate.
Thank you so much.
this is really great.
Bye.
Bye, Jane. You're welcome, Sharon. You're still here. All right.
I think we're good.
Yay, Inga.
Thank you, Inga. Thank you for the expertise.
Yes. Okay. I will end it, yeah?
Yeah.